No city knows how to throw a party quite like New Orleans, which hosted Super Bowl IV in 1970. The first Super Bowl held in the Big Easy proved to be a difficult task. The game featured the Vikings and the Chiefs, but there was much more to see than just football. Pre-game festivities began with a parade modeled after Mardi Gras.
If you're going to do something here in New Orleans, if you're going to try it, you better go all the way if you call yourself entertainment.
Going all the way included the release of 20,000 colored balloons and 3,000 birds, nearly causing a mid-air catastrophe that resembled an Alfred Hitchcock horror film revisited.
It looked for a moment there was going to be a collision. They missed by inches of really have a calamity.
As pigeons filled the horizon, dueling trumpeters representing each team played the national anthem. One of the musicians was Tonight Show band leader Doc Severinsen. His rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner nearly turned into a funeral dirge for a co-worker of broadcaster Pat Summerall.
He looked at me and he said, I think you ought to get somebody else to spot the game. The game is about 5 minutes away now. And I said, why? We hired you. We thought you were the best. Why? He said, because I think I'm having a heart attack. And with that, he falls right over in the booth.
He wasn't the only one falling flat, as a hot air balloon destined to soar struggled to get off the ground.
It was a little windy that day, and the floats and the hot air balloons started going over toward the stands.
The balloon holding a Viking mascot caromed out of control, resembling a sinking Nordic ship with no life preserver.
The balloon got loose and dragged a couple of people through the stands, almost out of the stand.
Fans in the stands began fleeing for their lives. The balloon then crashed in the lower deck, scattering terrified Southern belles who had just finished their pre-game pageant. Super Bowl IV organizers hoped to create a surreal experience, but this wasn't what they had in mind.
Fortunately, no one got hurt, but it was pretty scary, and that was only the pregame show.
When it didn't work, it could be disastrous, as was the Battle of New Orleans halftime show.
They had hundreds of soldiers spread all over the field and all sorts of cannons.
Many were unable to see the battle reenactment due to dense smoke covering the entire field. Consider them lucky.
It turned out to be a disaster. There was gunfire back and forth either side of the field. There was smoke all over the place, and hundreds of people on the field dressed up as soldiers.
Some of the casualties in the recreation weren't acting.
One of the guys loading the cannons had a cannon misfire, and it blew off part of his hand. The dance team at the time, they were standing no more than 15 feet from where that happened, and they witnessed this take place, and some of them were literally sick to the stomach.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the last Battle of New Orleans that we're going to be involved in.
After that particular faux pas, as we call it down here, they toned it down significantly.
Learning from the mistakes of its past, New Orleans has hosted the big game more than any other city. Perhaps the blunders of Super Bowl IV were a blessing in disguise, as New Orleans is now the premier Super Bowl site of the NFL.